Good morning and welcome to the Propeller Club of Northern California. I'm Stas Margaronis, and we are welcoming Tony Zhong, who is the Chief Information Security Officer with the Port of Los Angeles. He's going to be speaking to us today about the Port of LA's cybersecurity plan and its Cyber Resilience Center. You can see that on the screen. Tony has asked me to emphasize that he wants to be interactive in this discussion and presentation, so that if you have any questions, he does not mind if you interrupt him in the course of his presentation. So please be mindful that we are encouraging people to be interactive today. And if you have any questions, that's what Tony's here for. As you all know from previous presentations, we start off with our welcome. And so I am going to ask Todd to take a look at our participants, because they're not all on my screen. I see people on the view. Todd, can you get me our participants so I can see who's here?
Yeah, just click on participants at the bottom of the screen, they'll pop up.
All right.
You see the list.
No, it's not going for me. Okay, let me come down the on my right side and see if that works. First of all, I will introduce yourself, Todd. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, Todd Croshaw Design. I integrated brand marketing for print and web, premier web hosting, and IT support and more.
And web development.
And please remember to mute yourselves. Thank you for that. Todd, you're going to have to go and do names for me, because I can only see a couple of people. For some reason, my screen is not moving on this one. Todd, can you?
Oh, I muted myself. Bob Bouchard.
Yes, good morning. Bob Bouchard from the Governor's Office of Emergency Services. I'm a maritime specialist for Northern California.
Bob, welcome.
Good morning, Stas.
Good morning.
Brandon.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Brandon Jose. I'm a Cal Maritime graduate. I currently work in cybersecurity with the DoD in Point Loma for the Information Warfare Center. And I'm looking forward to hearing more from Tony Zhong about the Port of Los Angeles and how they're dealing with attacks in cybersecurity. Thank you.
Brandon, welcome.
Yes, it's great to see you, Mr. Stas. Thank you for inviting me once again.
Okay, go ahead.
Chris Hanna.
Hi, I'm Chris Hanna. I'm the IT security manager with the Port of Oakland, and really happy to be here, and thank you for putting this on.
Welcome, Chris. We're glad to have you.
Chris Hicks.
Oh, hi, Chris Hicks with the Marine Exchange here in Emeryville, Director of IT, and glad to be here.
So I finally got you, Chris.
Yeah, I've been meaning to make some of these, and so I'm glad I did today.
Great. Good to see you, Chris.
Yeah, iPhone Zuka.
Anybody with a last name of Zuka?
Okay, moving on. Kevin. Oh, there we go. Something's come up. I guess not. Kevin.
Go ahead.
Kevin Policarpo.
Kevin?
I'm here. Hello,
Good.
my name is Kevin Policarpo. I work as Stas's research assistant and note taker for some of his meetings.
Great. Thank you, Kevin.
Am I taking notes for today, boss?
Yes.
Gotcha.
And we got Kyle Mobley.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Kyle Mobley. I'm the Technology and Innovation Director for the Port of Oakland.
Kyle, good morning. Welcome.
Morning.
And Ron Brown.
Uh, Good morning, everyone. Ron Brown with the Port of Oakland. I'm also on the Propeller Club board and glad to see so many people registered and on the call today.
Thank you, Ron, and thank you for bringing your guests from the Port of Oakland.
Russ Buchan.
Good morning, all. Russ Beauchamp with Emergentex. I'm our Vice President of Services. I'm a member of the SoCal or LA LB Propeller Club, but got invited to this meeting today. So thank you.
So Russ, you could also join the Northern California Propeller Club. You could maybe hint that to Jessica next time you guys talk.
I'll consider that.
Okay, Russ, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Scott Conrad.
I'm Dr. Scott Conrad, recently retired CIO from San Jose Evergreen Community College District. Been a CIO in the California community colleges about 15 years and a personal friend of Stas's.
Scott, thank you very much for making it, and we appreciate you being here.
Scott Humphrey.
Good morning, folks. Scott Humphrey is the Executive Director of the Marine Exchange and the Chairman of the Harbor Safety Committee. I'd like to thank a great friend of Stas also, and I'm really happy to be here, especially with Los Angeles talking to us this morning.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you very much, and thank you for all of your support as well.
Sung Lee.
Sung.
Hi, this is Sung Lee,
Sung Lee.
President of CB Bank and also incoming chair for District Export Council.
Sung, good morning.
Hi, Stas.
Sung, how was your presentation with Peter?
Oh, that was fun. Sorry you missed it. Yeah, we had a really nice time in South City.
Very good. Okay, I see Susan Duran.
Right.
Hi, good morning. Susan Duran with FlexiVan, Director of West Coast Operations for the Bay Area and the PNW. And I'm also President of the Pacific Transportation Club, and I'm happy to be here for this meeting. Thank you.
And Susan, I want to thank you for all of your participation. You're here almost all of the time, and we welcome your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Seth.
Troy Hosmer.
Good morning. Troy Hosmer, Maritime Security Manager here at the Port of Oakland. Happy Monday. Thank you.
Happy Monday, Troy.
There's a couple of some phone numbers and one that ends in 3001. Should be better.
I'm going to ask them to identify themselves, or we're not going to keep people on who don't identify themselves. So I've got 415-350-3001. Can you introduce yourself? Okay.
Excuse me, sir. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, perfect. So I'm completely new. This is Lieutenant Commander Clark Sanford. I think I'm dialing from a landline from U.S. Coast Guard Sector San Francisco. So I don't know if that is my phone number, but I appreciate the extended invite for me. Again, I'm new to the Bay Area, so I'm excited to listen in and hear and kind of participate in as much of any kind of maritime anything really going on. My main job is waterways management. New to this area, but I had the unique opportunity over the past 3 years to work with our foreign partners out of Japan and see what maybe 40 plus other countries are doing as far as cybersecurity. So it'll be interesting to get back and hear what we're doing here domestically, and look forward to the presentation, Tony Zhong. And again, thanks so much for letting me participate.
Tell me your name again.
It's Lieutenant Commander Clark Sanford.
Oh, Clark,
Waterways Management.
I met you at the Marine Exchange last week.
Certainly did, and I appreciate the invite.
Oh, okay. Clark, thank you very much for coming.
You might want to get an email from him, Stas. That way we can put him on the invitation list for future events.
I actually have his email.
Okay.
I do have his email. And who's the other? Is that it?
I think, did we do Peter Olney? I don't know how to pronounce his name.
No, Peter Olney.
Yeah, this is Peter Olney, International Longshore and Warehouse Union, Organizing Director, retired. Happy to be here, and thanks again, Stas and the team, for putting on this great event.
And you're also bilingual. I heard you're Italian a couple of weeks ago at Sam's Grill. I was very impressed, Peter.
Well, parliamo italiano se c'è qualcuno che vuole parlare italiano in questo programma, eh?
Oh. Hey, you impressed me. Thank you, my friend. We have 415-399-7401. Could they introduce themselves?
That's me, 7401. That's Coast Guard, Clark Sanford.
Okay, great. Okay, Clark. Thank you. All righty. Is that everybody, Todd?
Yeah, I think everybody.
Okay. So I was introduced to Tony Zhong by Phil Sanfield at the Port of Los Angeles. We've had several briefings with the Port of LA, and Gene Soroka has spoken a lot about a lot of the work that they're doing. I had a chance to visit with Tony a couple of months ago, and he is the Chief Information Security Officer, as we said, at the Port of Los Angeles. And he started out there in 2014. I think one of the salient points that is very disturbing and really addresses why this is such an important issue is Tony told me in 2014, the port experienced 7 million attacks per month directed at Port of Los Angeles and its stakeholders. In 2023, Tony told me there were 60 million monthly attacks against the Port of Los Angeles and its stakeholders, and I imagine a similar jump has been occurring at other ports and maritime institutions. So this is a very timely event for us. It's a very timely subject. And Tony, you have the floor, and welcome.
Thank you, Stas. Welcome, distinguished guests and maritime leaders. Thank you for attending this session. I would like to again thank you, Stas, and the Propeller Club of Northern California for this opportunity and platform to speak about our cybersecurity efforts and how we're leading the maritime industry. I hope this presentation is informative and will provide you insight on some of these cybersecurity awareness and the different security threats and landscape that we're experiencing as a port authority, and also we'll dive into the CRC operations. So like Stas also said, let's make it interactive. I just don't want to go through slides. If I could share some lessons learned from our operations, I would be glad to do so. So just a background on my experience, and then we'll dive into the presentation. So I've been a security practitioner for over 20 years, focusing on incident response, forensics, vulnerability assessment, security auditing. We also do malware analysis and engineering as well. Nowadays, I'm involved in a lot of project management, strategy, and policy development for our organization. My primary role is to protect the confidentiality, integrity, and the availability of the port's digital infrastructure. I manage and oversee the Cybersecurity Operations Center, which was developed in 2014, and the Cyber Resilience Center, which recently went into production in 2022. So I'll definitely dive deeper into those two operations shortly. I love being technical and doing technical work, leading my security team in security incidents, analyzing threats, I'm usually at the front line with my team responding to incidents either at low, medium, or high. Usually at the high level, the low, medium are taken care of by my team. And then we always, try to provide best practices and share information back to the communities that we are involved in, which could be at the local level, regional level, national level, or international level. The Port of Los Angeles has involvement in many communities at those various levels. At the international level, we communicate with the IAPH. IAPH is the International Association of Port and Harbor. And then the national level, we have good relations with DHS. We're part of the ISACs. The state regional level, the Cal CSIC, the Cal OES, and then the local communities would be the security groups, along with the area maritime security subcommittee or security committee with the U.S. Coast Guard in sector LA and Long Beach. I also hold many cybersecurity credentials and certifications in those cyber disciplines that we strongly focus in. Our main goal is to perform incident response, so we can reduce the threat for our organization. So with that, I'll move on to the agenda, and this is what I will be talking about. I'm going to go over the port overview for some of you that may not be familiar with the Port of LA. It'll just be a quick overview, and then I'm going to dive into the cybersecurity landscape and overview and what we're seeing from our operations. And then we're going to take a deep dive into the Cyber Resilience Center, how we operate it, what the goals are, the participation aspects, and then I'll leave room for questions and answers. Again, feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions in between. All right. So with Port of LA, our vision is to continue to be the #1 container port and be the global model for security, sustainability, and social responsibility. Our mission is to deliver value to our customers by providing superior infrastructure and promoting efficient operations that maintain our role in the nation's economy and transportation network as North America's preferred gateway and catalyst for job growth. We've been the leading port for the last 24 years in terms of the movement of containers. We have 7,500 acres of land and water. There is 43 miles of waterfront in our port, and we have over 200 leaseholders. Last year alone, we moved over 8.6 million TEUs, and in 2021, we had a record-breaking year, which was over 10 million.
Tony, are you showing your screen? Because I'm not seeing it.
Oh.
I'm seeing it.
Oh, it's not coming up online. So
Okay. No, it's coming up online.
Let me stop sharing and I'll reshare if that's okay.
There it is. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for letting me know. All right, moving on. So at the port, we have 2 operation center, and I manage both. The first one is our Cybersecurity Operations Center, which is also known as the Cyber Command Center. This went into production in 2014, and with a dedicated security team made up of full-time employees and some contractors to fill the gaps where we need specific experience and subject matter experts. This operation is ISO 27001 certified. At that time, when we went into production in 2014, a year after, we received the ISO certification from our auditing firm. And then thereafter, we applied for the AAPA award for IT innovation and the efforts in cybersecurity. So we won 2 of those awards. The initial one was back in 2014 with the visionary development of the Cybersecurity Operations Center. Moving forward to now 2024, we've exactly hit one decade of cybersecurity operations. I think we are one of the few ports to have this cybersecurity operations center in existence. There may be other ports that have tools or various capabilities, but to formally have a operations center and like a fusion room, a war room, and continuously operate and monitor our security and digital infrastructure, we are one of the few nationally to have this. And then with the Cyber Resilience Center, that was a lessons learned involved improvement to the cybersecurity operations for protecting the ecosystem. So when cybersecurity incidents start increasing, and we see a lot of those, there's a lot of attacks right now, very sophisticated attacks. But what prompted this platform or solution to be developed was an incident that happened in 2017 with the shipping line. I'm not going to name, but yeah, it's I'm sure many of us have heard and can associate the threat at that time. And we went to the drawing board. It took quite a bit of time. We went through 3 rounds of RFPs before we selected a partner to build and develop, also operate this. The approach was to get our stakeholders involved, such as like the terminal operators, shipping lines, to have their input so they could design this port community cyber defense system. So we can all have a common platform to share, operate, and have this solution during a cyber incident and be proactive to continually operate that on a daily basis. So we could receive that information, analyze it, and find the needles in the haystack so we could send out those real-time notification when a threat is on the ecosystem. So I'll dive into that a little more. So moving on to a higher level of cybersecurity, what we're seeing in general, and then out of our Cybersecurity Operations Center. As you guys all know, the threat is real. Media reports breaches, almost daily, even at the most secured public and private institutions with a lot of money, big security teams with, 50, 100, or even more mature operations, down to the mom and pop shops. So what we did was with our Cyber Resilience Center, we wanted to build a robust system to be able to accommodate the mom and pop shops all the way up to the most mature organization that have their security operations. So that was a difficult task, but But we were able to do it in partnership with our partner IBM. It's a public and private partnership. It has to be that way, and I'll go into details on why it has to be that way. So the digitization, of organization and going to cloud and or even remaining on premise increases efficiency, right? But with that comes at a cost. So as you put things online, it increases the footprint and the attack surface for threat actors. And many times organizations are dependent on the digital infrastructure to continue operating and doing business. As an example, I walked into a supermarket. I try to buy some food, and when there's computer systems are not working, I can't even check out. They don't even want to accept my cash, let alone using the computer like a tab or a credit card. So they can't really sell anything, and that goes with our organization as well. And in general, many organizations, digitalization is very dependent on those systems being up and available 24/7. So moving on to maritime incidents. What we've seen and what we're following are threat actors targeting industrial control systems. These could be your SCADA systems. These could be your cranes. There's a lot of talks about the cranes from overseas and the vulnerabilities and potential spying capabilities. So we also observed that, and few noticeable incidents that recently occurred. The Philippines Maritime Industry Authority were hit with denial of service. They were on public record that there were a couple of web servers that were compromised. Logistics trunk company was also affected due to a cyber incident. Ports in Japan were also disrupted recently. It affected Toyota supply chain, DP World last year, and I think to date the 2017 incident was one of the costlier incidents in the maritime industry. Moving on to coordinated attacks.
Tony,
Yes.
can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
You referenced the Philippine. What was the name of that organization?
It was the Philippines Maritime Industry Authority. I believe they are a government authority.
Okay.
That was a victim of a cyber incident.
Okay.
And that was around June, I would say June 14th or so.
Okay, of this year.
Of this year, yes.
And you talked about incidents with cranes, and could you talk a little bit about, are you seeing a trend in terms of the ability? I mean, the cranes is the guts of our ports. So if there's an issue with cranes or with the terminal operating systems, and that was one of my questions, was, is there, are you seeing a trend in terms of how attacks are being made against terminals? Is there any particular area that you could share with us?
So we are a port authority landlord base, so we don't deal directly with cranes, but with the information that we are researching and also observing is these threats are out there pertaining to cranes. Obviously, Coast Guard has done an extensive study on those. So, we don't run the crane, so I can't comment further. But with the different industrial control systems and including cranes, I would defer that to the operators and then Coast Guard that have been doing research on this. So
Okay.
we're definitely keeping a close eye on these, because if the CRC receives crane information, that's that's a part of the analysis that they could potentially do. And the CRC, like I said, is very robust. We receive all types of security information from the stakeholders. It's a it's a participant. It's not a mandatory system where the stakeholders have to share. They share what is comfortable with the community. But then, yeah, this is the central platform that allows them to do it safely, securely, and they know that this information will not get out of this or leave this ecosystem. So those
Okay,
are the
thank you.
agreements that we have in place. Yeah, great question. So moving on to coordinated attacks, threat actors focus on IT, which is information technology, and OT. OT is usually on the industrial control side. Could be SCADA systems, could be HVACs, could be electrical systems, so on and so forth. The threat actors are using sophisticated tactics, techniques, and protocols to attack these organizations. What we usually see is the threat actors using older known vulnerabilities that are or exploits that are available to test those systems. So basically, it's like let's try to compromise a organization with the lowest, having the lowest hanging fruit there, so we don't have to deploy these sophisticated malware that they have in the arsenal. So, the bad guys also have a specific tool set. So they want to get in the easiest way without doing too much work. And then if that doesn't work, they implement more sophisticated techniques. And with the digitalization nowadays, it's definitely easier for the bad guys to launch an attack anywhere around the world. They don't even have to be on premise at the port. They can sit behind a keyboard, and then with some programming skills, with some I would say technical skills, they could potentially disrupt an organization that does not have proper security controls and say policies and procedures in place. So it makes it very easy to compromise organizations. And then going back to your initial comment about what we are observing from the security operations side, I can confirm we are seeing over 60 million monthly unauthorized attempts, attack attempts. That has been the most recorded ever in the existence of our 10 years of operations. And that is only to protect the internal Port Authority's digital infrastructure. We're not even talking about the CRC operations yet. That we work very closely with our stakeholders to only ingest security events and logs. All the other business logs and activities is not in the CRC because the focus of the CRC is to reduce the cyber risk in our ecosystem for the stakeholders that have an involvement and dependency of moving supplies in and out of the port. So I hope I made a clear distinction between the two operations.
So Tony, let me again, just to clarify, when you're talking about 60 million, you're just talking about the Port of Los Angeles. essentially. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's our organization only. But
So,
yes, so my prediction is, again, this is my prediction and my opinion is, threat actors may not know our business model because we are landlord tenant. Threat actors may think that the Port of Los Angeles consists of terminal operators, shipping lines, cross-sector utilities, and they may be attacking us, trying to get in and disrupt other divisions or sections, right, of the supply chain. So what I think is we're gaining the bulk of the attacks and reconnaissance and exploitation. We haven't even counted the stakeholders. The stakeholders run their independent security operations, and they would have their independent reports on the unauthorized attacks and the unauthorized attempts.
so we don't know what the total number is that's happening to both the port and the stakeholders. Is that correct?
That is correct.
But we know that that number has increased tenfold over the last 10 years.
Absolutely. Yes, for a decade, like you mentioned, we started tracking with 7 million. Now we're up to 60 plus million.
Thank you.
This is just our organization and the services that we provide to this ecosystem.
Thank you.
That's a lot.
Hey, Tony, this is Ron Brown with the Port of Oakland. Would you say that the purpose of the attacks is primarily to extract a ransom or extract data or just simply be disruptive?
All three, because within our security sensors that we've deployed, we've observed various types of attempts. We've seen threat actors throwing malware at our system, trying to find a vulnerability within that, and then that's one way to disrupt services, or they're actively trying to do brute force to our systems that are being exposed. Great question. Thank you. I hope that answered it.
Yeah, it did. I was just referencing just this morning, I saw where AT&T had been attacked, and the assumption is that they did pay a ransom to put some sort of blockage into whatever the attackers were doing. So don't want to get us off the track, but it just a question came to mind whether they're trying to do ransom attacks to shut a system down and then force you to pay to get it back up and operating.
So ransomware is ranked up there. Obviously, phishing email is some type of email attack vector is also very common because those are the easiest way to get into organization because the intent is to target, I would say one of the weakest link in the chain in security, which is the human factor, right? Because humans tend to click or open up a email with attachment, and that's how threat actors get into organizations. So constant security awareness training, constant just training in general to get employees aware and encourage them to share and also report goes a long ways. No company or organization is perfect. We're constantly trying to make outreach and educate employees, and it's I would say it's human behavior. Sometimes we see an email that looks real, but sometimes it may not be real, and that's how we get tricked. And it's not on the part of the employee, because the threat actors are so smart and so sophisticated. One technique that they use is they use legitimate compromised emails to target the victim. And if that's a compromised email, how do you distinguish that, right? Because you've always been interacting with this person on the other side, and if their email gets compromised, you think that it's the same person interacting with you. So that's very hard. So, but then we try to roll out programs and educate them on, okay, if this looks fishy or if even though it's a legitimate email, just report it. It doesn't hurt to report it. So our team can basically analyze and vet that. So, but yeah, let's not get off on a tangent. Let's come back to the CRC. And yeah, great question. Thanks. Also, one last note that I want to make before I go to the next slide is since the beginning of this year, 2024, we've seen and observed unprecedented zero-day vulnerabilities. Almost like every day or every other day, we see vendors sending us notification that we need to patch systems because there's a zero-day vulnerability that needs to be mitigated immediately. To the same note, some of those vulnerabilities target critical systems like firewalls, VPNs. Those are the point of entry systems that would disrupt the organization, because if they get hold of those systems, they're able to move inside the organization. So, all right, excuse me for a second. Moving on to the CRC. Why the CRC, right? So basically, the ports ecosystem cyber risk must be addressed and be protected at all costs to ensure a safe and resilient supply chain is available. That's what we're trying to protect. The supply chain is the lifeline of our economy locally and also the nation as well, because between LA, Long Beach, we move the most containers from the West Coast into the country. And like I said, all this started back in 2017. We went to the drawing board after the major incident. How can we fill and identify the gaps that are needed to protect and reduce the cyber risk? That's where the CRC was born. I talked about the different levels of information sharing, from ISACs to the state and to a local level. That's all those sharing, threat intelligence sharing community are great. We're part of that too, but it generates a lot of noise, meaning that some of that information that I received, the indicators, particular indicators of compromise, I'm going in a little more technical, right? Those information that I receive may not be useful for my operations and how we protect our infrastructure. So there was that gap that was missing, where how can we work with stakeholders in this ecosystem, in this closed ecosystem, by approaching the stakeholders that have that dependency or that's part of that supply chain movement in our port. So we focus on the terminal operators, shipping lines, trucking, rail, all those stakeholders has a stake, has a role in moving their goods and services through the port. So ultimately, fast forward 3 years, as I mentioned earlier, again, we went through 3 rounds of RFPs before we were able to find a partner, which is IBM, for our operations, and staff with the full-time IBM security analysts. I manage this operations also because it's a need for the public side to work with the private side, with the public-private partnership. The IBM's operations secures the data, and basically they run day-to-day operations on the technical side. So the CRC is made up of 2 committees: the executive committee, which is made up of me, my leadership, the stakeholders, which I mentioned, the terminal operators, shipping lines, so on and so forth. Their leadership forms this executive committee. And then we have the technical CRC committee, which involves the security staff, the IT professionals, and they also work on the technical formation of this solution. So it's a joint effort between the 2 groups, and that's why the public-private partnership is really important, because it provides confidence and it builds that partnership with these various organizations. So moving on to the process, the CRC is also ISO 27001 certified.
I'm sorry, Tony, can I interrupt with a quick question?
Sure.
Sorry about that. I wasn't sure
No
if
problem.
it's the right place to insert this question, but I believe it is. It's talking public-private partnership. Are you familiar with the IALA S100 and S200 message standards?
I'm not familiar.
Well, there's a standard called the S211 port call message, and this is a internationally standardized message format that is intended for all maritime entities to be able to communicate in real-time port call information, things like ETAs, ETDs, I've arrived, pilot on board, and it's designed for ship to ship, ship to terminal, and operator to all of the above. I mention that because I was at a conference not too long ago when a port to remain nameless that had suffered a cyber attack said ad infinitum, we will not connect our systems to outside systems because there is the risk of a cyber attack. But we have to connect systems to outside systems in order to be a worldwide interconnected maritime. It seems like most of the threats are related to emails and these sorts of things. Have you seen threats where a ship, in the interest of transmitting some useful port call message data, has actually managed to transmit a malicious cargo along with that message, or where internal systems are actually communicating malicious message cargo?
In our ecosystem, I haven't noticed, but for those day-to-day operations, that's where IBM would know, because they are receiving those information. Like I said, the Port Authority plays a neutral role in this, and we're leading the effort, but day-to-day operation is very confidential, because we're trying to build that trust in the stakeholders, without any government involvement, for any cyber activities. Yes, I understand. That's why it's a complicated operations, and we found that to be effective, and it's accepted by our stakeholders, because that information only stays inside the ecosystem is not shared outside. So when security incidents like that happen, is usually the CRC analyst dealing with the particular stakeholders. And even though I manage it, I don't have insight into those detail.
Okay, I'd be interested in how the California ports specifically, because of some California laws, plan to implement these port call message standards, which require us to share data back and forth between the ports and the marine exchanges and the terminals and the ships in supposedly a safe and standard way, kind of coming out of these silos that are usually prompted by fear of a security breach.
Yeah, totally agree. So as a port authority, we are a stakeholder. And obviously, you know, there's certain regulations that may pertain to us. We have, I know, terminal operators, shipping lines, part of the MTS regulation. Those are independent organizations. What we're talking about CRC is a resilience platform.
Okay.
And because it's operated and managed on the technical side, managed by IBM, you know, should any regulations occur, you know, I think that will be reviewed by the attorneys to see where and if it's applicable to the CRC operations. And I can't comment on that. I don't know the legality of that. If a regulation or policy is enforced.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And I wonder whether that's a question for the Coast Guard as well, Tony, because that is a vessel traffic incident that Scott's talking about. And I know that the Coast Guard is now developing its new rules around that, and would seem to me to be an area that we should check in with the Coast Guard about, Scott.
Unfortunately, I don't think the Coast Guard at the local level has any visibility over these IALA message standards, because they don't have any plan to integrate them into the VTS systems, but we do. We'd like to integrate them. I mean, they're already in our new system, but I fear no one wants to exchange data because of the fear of you know, cyber problems, which is a very legitimate fear. But if everyone doesn't know about these port call message exchange standards, there's no motivation to want to make your port systems compliant with them and jump on board exchanging the data.
Right, Scott, this is Chris at the Port of Oakland. You know, obviously we're in the early stages of this, and you know, to kind of get at, I think what you were asking, there's ways to exchange the data that are more secure than others, right? So there's ways to exchange that data, validate that data when it comes in, ensure that only access to certain data is allowed and staged and transmitted appropriately. We surgically punch holes to certain things where we need that data exchange or certain data exchange. We do not open doors wide open, right? So there's a whole gamut of how you can architect this. And since we're kind of in the early stages of that, that still has to be worked out. But I think, you know, the goal obviously is to exchange the data and not compromise security in any meaningful way, obviously. Hope that helps.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Scott. Okay, Tony, back to you.
All right. So how are we doing on time? I think I have 5 minutes, so let me run through it really quick.
Okay.
Then, yeah, all these are great questions. Thank you. So the goals of the Cyber Resilience Center, you know, I'm not going to read all this. You know, you guys can just, follow through. As I was talking, you know, we want to get all the stakeholders in our ecosystem on the left-hand side to be participants of this. We do a lot of outreach, daily, weekly, and then because the stakeholders also have personnel turnover, especially in the cyber side. It's very hard to recruit and hire cyber professionals because there's so much demand for it. You know, the good ones are always taken. So it's a challenge. But yeah, the goal is to ensure that the cyber risks are reduced and make sure that there's no disruption to the flow of cargo for this CRC. Also improves the quality, quantity, and the speed of information received and shared, and also analyzed. I was saying earlier, it creates that platform where, you know, stakeholder 1, stakeholder 2, stakeholder 3, in the past, they were siloed, they weren't talking. It gives them an opportunity to, you know, share, talk, and make those partnerships before an incident happens. It's designed to be non-invasive, non-disruptive, because we don't put sensors out there. All they're doing is sending that information to the CRC. The CRC will analyze the I would say events, and then if they find 2 or more of the same events, such as say IP address, the malware, they would continue to do further research and send an on-demand notification out to the ecosystem immediately, so they can use that to protect their systems. Using that is optional because it's a voluntary system for them to participate. If they choose not to use it, again, that's at their own will and risk. But yeah, we highly encourage that if information is sent out, you know, please use it because it may help prevent you from a cyber incident, because we saw it on 2 or more of the stakeholders. If it's an individual incident, then that's very unique. So that's not considered a coordinated attack on the ecosystem. This is a interactive picture. You know, we have all these stakeholders. So if some of these stakeholders to be impacted, like a terminal operator were to be impacted, it's like a mesh network. They could share that information, and hopefully those other stakeholders would be able to use it and protect the supply chain, and also restore the operations in a timely manner. So, you know, some of the things that the cyber resilience did, and here are some of the things that the cyber resilience does not do. So it's not a replacement of their security operations, because this is more of like a passive system that the stakeholders send information only. We don't have a sensor over there in their environment, and it's not intended to take responsibility for the stakeholders, you know, the risk. So they still have to assess their own risk, and you know, it doesn't intrude on their system. You know, it's another source of information, resource for them. There's no sensitive information such as PII, because all the information that's sent out is anonymized. So stakeholder 1 that sends that information doesn't get linked back to stakeholder 1. It's just the indicators of the compromise that will be useful for their threat hunt or prevention of a potential cyber attack. So, you know, that's some of the items that the CRC will not do for the stakeholders. And quickly, here's the dashboard that every stakeholder sees when they log into the platform, their security posture for that organization. Also, that they're able to see the industry security posture compared to their peers, and also at the very high level, where in terms of risk is the CRC at. I think I talked a lot about this. Who can join? You have to be part of the supply chain in the ecosystem in order to join. Our current and future participants include these companies: terminal operators, shipping, trucking, cross-sector. If for the participants that are here, if you think that you have a role in Port of LA's ecosystem, I encourage you to reach out to me or send an email to the POLA CRC email right here, and then we can quickly get you onboarded. It takes about 30 minutes to get onboarded. Like I said, it's very robust. We cater from the mom and pop shop all the way to the most sophisticated, mature security teams. So we went 2 minutes over. I'm not sure about everybody's time. I still have some time, and I'll be glad to take some questions. Thank you.
Tony, thank you very much. That was very comprehensive and very, as I said, very easy to follow. Appreciate the depth and the breadth of your comments. Back to one of the issues that we talked about earlier on in terms of cranes and terminal operations. Are you doing any analysis of where your threats are coming from? I mean, do you have any kind of trends about what part of the supply chain is getting attacked on a monthly or a regular basis? Tony, can you hear me?
I can. Was that question for me or for Ron?
Oh, no, that was for you.
But you did say Ron, so you got my ears up. So I knew I didn't know the answer. So Tony, you're welcome to answer that question to your content.
Tony, that was for you. I misspoke. You know, Ron's my vice president, so he's constantly on my mind.
Yeah, right.
Tony.
All right. Yeah.
Are you looking at these trends? Do you see something? Do you have the ability to analyze what impacts what kind of threats are impacting your system in different parts of the supply chain?
So we don't operate or monitor any. No, I'm not saying monitor. We don't operate cranes. We don't operate the very specialized OT systems that each business unit of the organization, right? Like terminal operators, shipping. What we will do is monitor and do research on those capabilities and technologies. Should we need to be educated in those areas, and also if the CRC needs guidance in the technology of those particular systems, we may be able to assist. But yeah, in terms of operating it, we don't have any insight into that unless the terminal operators decide to share that, which they may, because that's the confidentiality side of the CRC that I'm not privy to.
Very good, thank you. Do we have other questions? Going once. Any of our port people, any questions from there? Tony, you talked about enrollment and training people and the issue of demand. Are there any particular educational programs that the port is involved with or is aware of that allow for the training and recruitment of people that want to go into cybersecurity on the maritime sphere?
So as a port authority, we have internships, and I'm just speaking on our about our organization. So we have internships yearly during the summer in the different divisions within our organization that provide, say, services to the ecosystem. We have law enforcement division, we have real estate, we have engineering, and IT and security. That's in my area. So I usually have interns for the cybersecurity division to help us out, and then also get them educated to see if cyber is the right career for them. So they get to experience that, by interning with us, and also other parts of IT. There's different opportunities for students to experience and see if they want to go into those career. But yeah, definitely there's a shortage. We have challenges trying to hire full-time employees, even consultants. At times it's hard to get qualified people into certain areas, especially cyber.
So real quickly, Bob Butchart, Cal OES, are you experiencing, are you involved in training and educating, or are you running into this for your OES services? I know you've just started up a cybersecurity division.
Well, Tony alluded to it a couple times during his briefing where there's quite a network, and CalOES works with the federal level at the FBI level and all the way down to the local level, such as the ports. So maybe Tony can maybe elaborate on your relationship with Sacramento and the CalOES cyber division, since I don't work for cyber, but I work for Homeland Security. Have you had a decent interactions with the CalOES cyber?
So Cal OES, we interact with them. We're part of that situation awareness. If they find, say, a vulnerability, or if they need to share information down to our level, I usually get those notifications. Particular staff up there, I have to look at my emails. I just don't remember the names, but yes, we have very good relations at the state level, federal level, local level. Yeah, it's that web of network and communities that we have to be part of, because we just can't do it alone. When cyber hits, we need those resources. We need those partnerships to provide assistance. Sometimes it could be at the just as easy as information sharing, or if I could pick up the phone and call a peer, say, oh, are you guys seeing this? Or and I need assistance in responding to say this particular incident.
Yes, Stas, it's a huge network, and when we think, Tony's working on maritime and all the peripherals, but you could imagine Sacramento and looking at the cyber threats to, Silicon Valley, agriculture, everyday economics, just private and public banking. Cyber's huge, and that's growing. Within CalOES, it's really growing to be one of the larger branches of OES, but. We work as a team, as Tony has said. When San Diego had a cyber attack a while back, the feds went in, the state went in, and the locals went in. Tony's working out of LA. I'm sure Tony, if there's something happens somewhere else in the state and he's, got the ability to come in and respond to that, we would work as a team as we do in other, like fire or law enforcement or whatever. Cyber's become people look at cyber as something that we can't handle in our hands, but it's actually now becoming a very, very serious team response. We can't just say it's cyber guy's responsibility anymore. It's all of our responsibilities.
And I agree. Yeah, just to add to that, during that time, I knew the CISO over there, so we were in constant communications. Yeah, it's that, a type of network that we have to create in this industry, because time is very important. If we could get that indicator of compromise, which is information that has been used to attack that organization, then if we can prevent that from happening to ours operation, that would be a game changer.
Hey, Stas, very quickly, this is Ron, and I'm gonna impose on our guys at the Port of Oakland, and they may get mad at me and beat me up after work or something, but because we also manage an airport, I wanted to just throw this out to Chris and to Troy. I mean, are we seeing, sort of the same sort of thing from an aviation perspective, or does it even make a difference?
Yeah, this is Chris at the Port of Oakland. We see very similar things over on the aviation side. It's the industry and the threats are a little bit different on the aviation side, but similar to how Tony described the stakeholders over at the seaport on his side. We have a similar landlord-tenant relationship. Also at the airport, there are limited systems that we run, and then there's some systems obviously that the airlines and so forth run. So no, this is not unique to anybody. Everybody's gonna is subject to it. We get a lot of issues that come in. People are constantly trying to scan our network. People are always trying to look for ways to get in. It's the normal stuff, and you have to be prepared for it. So no, this is not unique to maritime at all. Pretty much every industry is subject to it.
Okay.
Troy?
Troy?
Yeah, thank you, Ron. I certainly can't speak to that. Chris and Kyle are our cyber experts there, so I listen to them.
Okay, very good. Scott Conrad, you have been teaching and working with community colleges around the state. Are you seeing an uptake in people who are interested in going into cybersecurity?
Unfortunately, not as much as we need. It's a difficult, like the Cisco, we offer a Cisco certification cybersecurity at a number of our colleges that you do most of the work actually online. And ironically, we're seeing a decline in enrollment because of the strict standards. A lot of the students aren't willing to stick with it. Those that do can graduate with it in less than 2 years and be making 6 figures, and they're in high demand.
Very good. Thank you. Brandon, you were in that process. Don't think you were going to get out of this one. You were at Cal Maritime. You went through the kind of process that Scott was referring to. Is it challenging for people to go into cyber, and what needs to change to encourage them to do that?
I think, well, thank you for pointing me out. I think there's a lot of people who are interested in cybersecurity. They're just wanting to know how to get it done. And so it's a very niche thing, but I think with great mentorship, they can go a long way, pointing them out to the right programs and certifications to get would be great for them. And I would like to get to know more from Scott Conrad about the enrollment program and try to see if we can get the news spread out to students at Cal Maritime.
Very good. Thank you.
This is Chris again at the
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll touch on that recruitment and the retention and stuff. I mean, in any technology position, but in the cyber especially, it's very challenging here where we are in Northern Cal, very close to Silicon Valley with all these tech companies around. But to the extent you can, and I know we're often limited as government agencies, the frustration points for technology people, especially candidates who might be, on the lower level of experience and really wanting to get in, is just our recruitment processes, our overall processes. Government tends to move slow. You have, company X willing to pay more money, interview you at Starbucks and hire you next week versus our recruitment cycle, which might be 3, 4, 5 months sometimes, right? So these are the kinds of, trade-offs that when we realize how we do business, we're competing for that same talent pool. So to the extent we can, and I know we can't fix everything, we do need to try to, act a little bit more like a business to try to get folks in and try to expedite some of those, frustration points and make the environment better for them. You have a company in Silicon Valley offering work from home 3, 4, 5 days a week. If your agency doesn't offer work from home, you're uncompetitive. It's these kinds of things we need to start looking at to make sure we can get the talent we need.
Very good. Tony, I'm going to impose on you one thing that we didn't talk about was AI and its impact on the threat. Could you talk real briefly about what you're seeing with that?
Absolutely. So AI is the next frontier. I think even the most secure, mature organization out there that has, mature operations, have to face this. It's a race against time. It's like a cat and mouse game. We are looking at security solutions with AI on how to make things more efficient, try to detect if the threat actors are using AI capabilities or technologies also to perform exploitation and reconnaissance to our environment as well. So it's in this early stages because every company will say, yeah, we have AI technologies. How mature are they, and how much value will it bring to their operations? So we're constantly looking at those solutions and technologies to see if we can improve and how we can enhance our operations so we can be one step ahead of our threat actors. Because if we fall behind, we're done. Because it just takes one incident to impact an organization, regardless if it's low, medium, or high. Hopefully not on the high side, but I think that's where you also need your resources, like your staff, to be able to have the capability to monitor and respond, and then contain the incident in a timely manner. And then that comes back to that procedures. Do you have those policies and processes to make that happen? So going back to AI, it's really important. We have to embrace it, and we have to also move along with and align ourselves with the industry trend. Good question.
Very good. Tony, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today. You've covered a lot of territory. You've given us a lot of food for thought. And I'm hoping that on the national level, that the role model that you have developed at the Port of Los Angeles will become more widely accepted, so that we eventually have some sort of standardization for port operations to give us a better shield on cybersecurity.
Stas, thank you for this opportunity, distinguished guests. I hope I provided some insight and what we're doing. It's a daily struggle for us also. We have limited resources, but I'm just trying to align my program, my resources, my staff, and ultimately reduce the risk. The risk will never go away, right? What we're trying to do is just eliminate those risks as much as possible and make it harder for the threat actors to do something devastating to our environment. So with that, I really appreciate everybody's time. If you want to reach out to me, I'll be glad to share more lessons learned and best practices on our internal operations, and also the CRC platform to protect the ecosystem as a whole.
Tony Zhong.
Thank you.
Port of Los Angeles, thank you very much. Thank you all for participating. I just want to warn you, for those of you that are Propeller Club members, that on September 17th, we have a presentation between Matt Schrapp of the Harbor Trucking Association and Matt Leduc with Forum Mobility on electric trucking future, the future of electric trucking. We have our storms, flooding, and sea level defense conference November 12th. Thank you all for coming. We will see you soon. And again, Tony Zhong, Port of Los Angeles, thank you for being with us today.
Take care, everyone. Have a good one.
Thank you all. And I echo that. Have a good one as well. And be safe and be well. And we will see you soon.